This is Joe Forward, legal writer for the State Bar of Wisconsin. And this morning I'm here with Judge Randy Koschnick. He's the director of Wisconsin State Courts, and he's a former circuit court judge for Jefferson County. Good morning, Judge. How you doing?
Fine, Joe. How are you doing?
Good, good. Hanging in there. I just wanted to give an update for some folks about the court system. So I wanted to ask you a few questions this morning. What have you been focused on as director of state courts in the last month?
Well, the main focus has been to keep the courts open and operational, especially for critical cases or essential cases. And those would be cases involving an individual's liberty interest, as well as cases involving families. So criminal cases, certainly, family cases involving children, whether they're subject to a divorce decree or if they're in juvenile court for kids who have been neglected or abused. Those are the highest priority cases, and we've been focusing on keeping the courts running and processing those cases fairly and in a timely manner.
Okay. Can you explain the Supreme Court orders on video conferencing and jury trials, just in general? I know there's some exceptions to those. Can you just explain it generally for people?
Sure, and I'd like to, first of all, Joe, say that I recommend people watch the state court website, wicourts.gov, wicourts.gov. We have a COVID-19 page on the website, and it's updated as new orders come out. And so if somebody's watching this days after we've recorded it, there may be new orders that are up there. The Supreme Court and the circuit courts around the state are posting those orders as they come out. But at this point, generally speaking, the Supreme Court has issued orders which have suspended in-person proceedings except as may be necessary for essential hearings. And so in an effort to accommodate that, I have purchased for each court in the entire state a Zoom license. So each judge has assigned to him or her a Zoom license so they can hold court sessions by remote video conference. Now, sometimes you can go into the courtroom and watch the Zoom conference, and there's a number of ways to do this. Sometimes the judge is in court with the clerk, and one or two parties might appear by video or in person, as the case may be. In other cases, the entire proceeding is remote, so the judge is appearing by video conference, as are the parties and the lawyers. In order to maintain public access, which is critical, public access to court proceedings, other than confidential hearings, of course, we are streaming these video conference hearings through YouTube channels, also on the wicourts.gov website. We don't have all 72 counties up and streaming on YouTube yet. The counties are developing these along all the other things they're taking care of, but you're welcome to go there and see how things are running. If a courthouse is shut down for public health reasons, we are able to stream live and for the public on our website the court proceedings. As far as the details of the Supreme Court orders, basically the Supreme Court, in addition to suspending in-person proceedings except for essential cases, suspended jury trials for a number of several weeks because the Supreme Court, was concerned about jury panels coming in, having a large number of people in a confined area, and being required to sit and listen to hearings in a jury room. There are exceptions if a party thinks there's a constitutional protected need to have a jury trial. The Supreme Court did invite petitions for interested parties in specific cases. The Supreme Court also has suspended or told some time limits for appellate proceedings, filings of briefs, and that type of thing. They have made general orders subject to fine tuning by the individual judges. I think in recognition of the fact that each circuit court judge is a constitutionally elected officer, and each judge is in the best position to make fine tuning, detailed decisions, so to speak, about matters pending in their own court.
Right. So how are things been going with the video conferencing? Has the system experienced any problems?
Well, I think it's going as well as can be expected, and I think it's going pretty well, actually. So I had to make a quick decision what to do. Mid-March, they're canceling sporting events around the country. The orders are coming out from various members of the executive branch, state and federal. And so I was familiar with Zoom from some of my personal experience. I'm on a few boards, not related to work, and we use Zoom so we can have conferences on a regular basis without having to necessarily travel. And I knew how flexible that format was, so I directed CCAP, Gene Busquette, the Chief Information Officer for CCAP, to purchase 500 Zoom licenses. We purchased those, we rolled it out as quickly as we could. Normally, I'd like to have a longer, more planned out rollout process, but here we needed to act quickly. So we purchased the licenses, pushed them out to the judges with their license information within a matter of several days. CCAP put together a very good list of policy recommendations to make sure that you maintain the security of the proceedings. And then we've given each judge some flexibility as far as how they're going to actually run that in their courtroom. But the tools are available to them. I think it's been going pretty well. I'd invite your viewers to go out and look at the live streams on the court webpage. One thing I do want to recommend to lawyers and to parties for that matter is that if you're going to be doing a hearing by Zoom in the Wisconsin courts, please do a test run before the actual hearing. One of the most common problems we see is jittery visual or audio communication, mainly because of a bandwidth issue. So call up another lawyer or a friend or family member on your video, whether it's a smartphone or a laptop, and test it out. See where in your house, if that's where you're working from, you have the best signal. And Zoom, by the way, has a free license. You can have limited meetings, 40 minutes maximum, I think. So you can download a free Zoom program just to try it out. I have a couple suggestions as well. With more people working at home now, there are actually bandwidth issues. So in my home, my wife is working by video conference elsewhere in the house. And to avoid sharing the same Wi-Fi signal, I'm running my video conference on my cell phone data plan, which is what I'm doing now through a tablet. And she's running her video conference equipment through the in-house Wi-Fi system. So we've maximized the bandwidth for each of us.
Okay. So, and so have you been hearing from judges about how it's going? Are they all comfortable now with it, or?
I'm not sure I can say all of them are. We have 249 circuit court judges. There's groups of different levels of comfort. Some of our judges have really taken the lead. For one, Judge Jason Roselle in Kenosha County. He's the chief judge for District 2, Judicial District number 2. He was on board right away, experimenting with the YouTube and the Zoom conference. And I think he's running 60–70% of his hearings by Zoom now, getting back up, approaching a full caseload again. And then there's varying degrees of acceptance and willingness to go along with this around the states. Some of it's prodded by necessity. Others are just eager to try the new technology. I've had no judges tell me they refuse to do it or they think it's a bad idea. So generally, I think the court system is really working well with other members of the court system and with the other branches of government to do the best we can to keep the courts running and accessible to the public.
Okay. Judge Koschnick, is there any other things, anything else that you wanted to mention before I let you go here?
Sure. Again, my focus is keeping the courts running. The circuit courts primarily is where most of my attention has been spent recently. If you're going to have a court appearance on Zoom, please think about things like the background, the lighting, the bandwidth, your attire. I think, proper decorum is still required, even though we're appearing remotely. And again, do a test run beforehand to try to avoid having technical problems during the hearing. Try to be patient with each other. One other thing I want to encourage people to do, I'm encouraging the judges, I would encourage the lawyers as well, start getting things back on the calendar as we're able to, because most hearings were canceled for that first 2 or 3 week period, beginning in mid-March. And so that's going to result in a pretty big backlog when we get back up to speed, and we have to accommodate not only the newly filed cases, but also the ones that have been adjourned or continued. So now that we've got the Zoom, we're able to handle an ever-increasing number of cases. So if you've got cases you've been waiting to file or waiting to get on for a hearing, I think about trying to get that rolling in the next couple of weeks rather than the next several months, so we don't have this huge snowball effect and potential gridlock down the road.
Right. Judge Koschnick, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Okay, you're welcome. Anytime, Joe. Thank you.